Hey guys, welcome back. I want to talk for a few minutes today about something near and dear to my heart, phobias and irrational fears. You see, back in 1999, after really not having any kind of thinking at all around driving, I was in a pretty bad car accident, a head-on collision. And following that accident, I found myself kind of caught up in a whole lot of really scary thinking about driving. And it really centered around major interstates, big bridges like Chesapeake Bay Bridge, long tunnels. Um, and it kind of just settled into my body, this like back of the mind, always there fear that would kind of bubble up into panic or bubble up into this just anxiety that I couldn't quite shake. And over the years, this phobia or this irrational fear of major interstates and giant bridges and tunnels really kind of held on and took on a life of its own because I gave it so much attention. I hated it so much. I took like courses online. I read books about how to get over this phobia. I hated this fear so much because to my adorable human eyes and my adorable human intellect, I had so much evidence of how this phobia was significantly impacting my life, impacting my marriage, impacting my job, impacting my children. I mean, I had pages, metaphorically speaking, pages and pages of evidence of how this like really significant phobia was ruining parts of my life. And I won't go into all the details because I'm sure you can imagine things I wouldn't drive to. I just wouldn't. Or other things I would drive to, but only if I could find sort of the smaller highways or the back roads and it would take me an extra hour to get there. Or things I would just say, no, I can't do it. Somebody else has to do it. Or I have to be a passenger for that. Or no, I know it's my turn to drive all the ladies to the beach on the major interstates, but no, I'm not doing it. I'll be a passenger. So you can, I'm sure, if you have any kind of fear or phobia around anything, you can definitely identify like, oh my God, it does impact my life. Yes. And there's evidence to how not only it impacts my life, but it, quote, ruins my life, or it messes up parts of my life, or it's cost me, I don't know, I've heard people say it's cost me my job, it cost me my marriage, it cost me my whatever. And it's so freaking compelling that we fall into shame and despair. And if you're like me, you use so many resources to hide it, to keep it kind of tucked away so people don't find out about it. Or you go use so much of your energy and your resources to find ways to kind of sneak around the phobia or put all kinds of things in place to make sure the thing doesn't happen that brings up the phobia. Phobias and irrational fears can kind of take over all of your life, not the actual thing, but the amount of time we spend in our mind trying to manage and control how we feel, our experience of panic, our experience of overwhelm. But what I discovered with my phobia, this whole driving thing, and I discovered this several years ago when I was going through Amy Johnson's Little School of Big Change. It wasn't so much the phobia that caused all the suffering. It was my investment, my fascination, my mesmerization with all the stories of shame and not good enough. And what the hell's wrong with you? Why can't you be normal? And look at how much you're relying on people. I had so many heavy stories. I wore them like heavy cloaks and they wore me down. I found myself never quite feeling good enough. Like something was just off. And I would go to great lengths to prove myself in every other area of my life. I needed to shine in every other area so that people wouldn't start noticing that I had this one quirk. this one skeleton in the closet, this one thing I worked so hard to hide from others. That was my suffering. My suffering wasn't even the way that I couldn't do certain things or that I couldn't take my kids certain places. That wasn't suffering. That was just not taking my kids certain places or not going certain places. That's not suffering. I know it can look like it is because of how we've been conditioned and how the world and our culture has taught us we should be. But what if we flip this on its head? What I started to see was that when I wasn't so consumed with what my human eyes could see and my human brain with all its learning and all its concepts and all its should and shouldn't and good and bad, I wasn't so focused on that. There was something else on offer that was so much greater. I have this tattoo on my left ankle that I had put on once I started really seeing this. And the tattoo says, walk by faith. And the longer version of that is walk by faith, not by sight. I started seeing that something bigger is going on here, that all this attention for years, decades, that I put into trying to solve and get rid of and hide this little quirk, this little human phobia, fear, whatever you want to call it, all my attention that had gone there, I was missing something much bigger. And what kind of occurred to me along this path of waking up, this path of seeing who I am, the timeless me, the eternal me, the me that is not tied up in a bunch of concepts and learning and conditioning. When I started on that path of waking up, of seeing who I am for real, I kind of got this hit that this aliveness, this energy, this intelligence that agreed to take this earthly costume, this Missy costume. I kind of agreed to the quirks too. Every single human costume has some quirks built in. I kind of think of them as breadcrumbs, clues we left ourselves. So like we're coming into this amazing costume. And before we do, we say, okay, let's stitch some things in the costume, some clues. So we never get too reliant on this for our joy and our peace, our love, our sense of worth, our sense of value. Let's stitch in some quirks, some costumes, some fears, some costumes, some fears, some little things that say, hey, wait a second. You're looking through human eyes again. You're looking through human interpretation of a brain again. Stop. Instead of staring and being mesmerized and captivated by the thing, your mind is calling the problem of your life that needs to be solved. What if instead we could ask, what is this here to point to? How can this phobia, this fear, this habit, this whatever it is that was sort of stitched into the costume, how can it be a portal, a pointer to truth, to what is real and stable and solid and not transient? Instead of spending so much effort trying to fix what's not even broken, what if this is an opportunity to learn who you really are? Grace, peace, joy, freedom. There is so much more on offer. Why would you go for fourth place of fixing a phobia? And I'm not saying the phobias don't go away. It's kind of amazing and ironic and paradoxical how that happens. But when our attention isn't so focused on fixing something, we're open to seeing that there's an intelligence in it. There's a grace right in the center of the fear and the phobia when we're not trying so hard to get rid of it, but instead getting to know it. Like, hi, you're back. How can I offer grace? How can I be the grace that I am? That changes everything. I know your mind, like all human minds, will squawk and it'll say, no, but look at the evidence. No, but look at the evidence. Here's where it's ruining my life. This is real. This is costing me a job. This is costing me rent money. Fine. Let your mind squawk. The answers are not going to come from that mind. The answers are not going to come from staring harder, gripping the steering wheel tighter to fix something that might just be there as part of your awakening. You're waking up. You're stepping into a lighter version, a lighter realm of who you really are. What if this thing that you call your quirk, your phobia, your fear, you chose it? You agreed to have that stitched in to your costume before you ever put it on. And you said, yeah, that's the thing that's going to help me remember who I am. Remember that I am timeless. Remember my true nature of peace. I hope this helps. Even if your mind is screaming, but she didn't give me the answer for how to fix the phobia, the fear, or the habit. Well, it's because you don't need fixing. You're not broken. You've got some veils, some learning, some conditioning covering up a true identity that is so much truer and realer and more timeless than what your mind tells you you are. What if we start opening our arms, our heart, I kind of just picture us doing this to the thing, the quirk, the phobia, the fear, the habit, and saying, come here, come on in. I know I stitched you into my costume. I know you are the breadcrumbs I left myself to walk back home. Show me the way. I'm ready to learn. I hope this helps. I love you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.